We've all been there, faced with a situation that feels like a battle, whether it's with a difficult colleague, a challenging friend, or even a frustrating circumstance. It's easy to think that the only way to overcome these challenges is through confrontation, fighting for your position, proving your point, or standing your ground. But what if the true power lies not in the fight itself, but in the way you choose to approach the conflict? The Stoics, those ancient philosophers who faced life's toughest challenges with remarkable calm, taught us a different way to deal with conflict. They didn't believe in avoiding adversity, but they understood that true strength comes from within, from mastering our reactions, from choosing when and where to engage, and from turning conflict into an opportunity for growth, rather than a battle to be won. In today's episode, we're diving into 12 Stoic strategies to overcome your enemy, not through fighting, but through understanding, wisdom, and self-control. These principles, though centuries old, are just as relevant today, offering a path to navigate any conflict with grace and strength. So, if you're ready to learn how to turn even the most challenging situations into opportunities for peace and personal growth, keep listening. 1. Understand your opponent deeply and use your knowledge to your advantage. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where the more you try to argue your point, the more you feel like you're not getting anywhere? It's frustrating, isn't it? You think you have all the right answers, but something keeps blocking your path. Here's the thing. The Stoics understood that true power doesn't come from the loudest voice or the sharpest words. It comes from knowing the situation and the person you're up against better than anyone else. Understanding your opponent is the first step in Stoic conflict resolution. It's not about defeating them. It's about using the information at your disposal to guide the situation in a way that works to your advantage. This doesn't mean manipulating or controlling the other person. It means seeing the bigger picture and understanding their motivations, fears, and needs. By doing this, you can better navigate the conflict without having to engage in a heated exchange. Let's take a moment to reflect on a personal example. Imagine you're at work and you're dealing with a colleague who's always criticizing your ideas. On the surface, it might seem like the only way to handle this is to defend yourself or challenge them back. But what if, instead, you took a step back and tried to understand what's really going on with them? Perhaps they're insecure about their own ideas, or maybe they feel threatened by your success. Knowing this allows you to approach the situation with empathy, making it more likely that you'll come to a mutual understanding without the need for a confrontation. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." This wisdom reminds us that the true power in any conflict comes from listening and understanding. When you take the time to truly listen and understand the other person's perspective, you disarm the situation. You no longer have to fight. They may even end up agreeing with you, or at the very least, respecting your position. Understanding your opponent's deeper motivations gives you an edge because you're no longer reacting emotionally. Instead, you're acting with purpose, guided by wisdom. This approach doesn't require force. It requires insight, patience, and self-control. 2. Choose your battles. Wisely, not every conflict deserves your attention. In life, we often find ourselves caught in arguments or situations that, upon reflection, were not worth the energy we spent. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that every challenge requires a response, or that every disagreement demands our attention. But the Stoics, wise philosophers of ancient times, knew better. They understood that not every battle is worth fighting, and sometimes the most powerful move you can make is simply walking away. Imagine this. You're in a conversation, and someone says something that bothers you. In the moment, you feel the urge to respond, maybe to defend your point of view or to correct them. But think for a moment, what would happen if you didn't react at all? The Stoics would suggest that in many cases, silence and detachment are the wisest responses. Not every conflict deserves our time and energy, especially when engaging with it will only drain us or create unnecessary tension. Take a step back and think about the bigger picture. When we engage in petty conflicts or arguments that don't align with our values, we waste precious time. We divert our focus from what truly matters, our personal growth, our relationships, and our peace of mind. By choosing which battles to fight, we conserve energy for the situations that truly matter, the ones that have the potential to bring about real change or growth. The Stoic philosopher, Marcus Aurelius, often reminded himself that the only thing he could control was his reaction. He said, "If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it." In this simple advice, Marcus was teaching us that we don't need to respond to every provocation. If a conflict doesn't align with your values or doesn't contribute to your growth, it's often better to step back and let it pass. This doesn't mean avoiding challenges or staying silent when something important is at stake, but rather, it's about recognizing when engaging in conflict serves no purpose but to waste your energy. Let's consider another example. Perhaps you have a friend who always seems to put you down or make passive-aggressive comments. Initially, you might feel the need to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But then you pause and ask yourself, is this person truly adding value to my life, or am I giving them too much space in my mental and emotional world? By taking a Stoic approach, you realize that this is not a battle worth engaging in. You don't need to prove anything to them, and you certainly don't need to invest your energy in someone who continuously undermines your worth. Choosing your battles wisely also involves prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being. It's easy to get swept up in the emotions of a situation, especially when someone challenges us or disagrees with us. But the Stoics understood that maintaining inner peace is more important than winning an argument. When we fight battles that don't serve us, we risk losing our peace and energy in the process. Ultimately, by applying the Stoic principle of discernment, we gain the ability to assess a situation before reacting. Not every challenge requires a confrontation. In many cases, the strongest move is to remain calm, detach, and refocus our energy on the things that matter. The power of choosing your battles lies in your ability to remain grounded, to avoid being pulled into unnecessary conflicts, and to focus on what truly contributes to your peace, growth, and purpose in life. 3. Speak calmly and clearly. Diplomacy is more powerful than shouting. In the heat of a conflict, the instinct to raise our voices, defend ourselves, or make our point loud and clear is strong. We've all been there, caught in the moment, desperate to be heard, to prove that we're right. But the Stoics understood something crucial. True power doesn't come from shouting, but from speaking with calmness, clarity, and purpose. Diplomacy, rather than aggression, is often the most effective way to handle any situation. Imagine you're in a meeting at work and someone criticizes your idea in front of everyone. Your first instinct might be to raise your voice, argue back, and defend yourself. But think for a moment, what does that accomplish? Sure, it might temporarily silence the person, but it also escalates the situation and creates tension. On the other hand, if you respond calmly, speaking clearly and thoughtfully, you have the opportunity to guide the conversation in a way that makes your point without creating unnecessary conflict. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, frequently reflected on the importance of maintaining a calm mind especially in times of conflict. He believed that one of the keys to wisdom was the ability to remain steady and composed, no matter what external circumstances tried to disturb our peace. He said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, when someone tries to provoke you, the greatest power you can demonstrate is by remaining composed and dignified, refusing to engage in their emotional chaos. Speaking calmly doesn't mean being passive or letting others walk all over you. It's about asserting your position in a way that is respectful and firm, without being confrontational. The Stoic approach teaches us that words have power, but only when used intentionally. When we speak with clarity and control, we show that we are in charge of our emotions, not the other way around. This ability to remain grounded allows us to navigate any conflict with grace, ensuring that we maintain our peace while effectively communicating our point of view. Let's consider a situation in which someone insults you. It's easy to feel hurt and retaliate with harsh words, but this only keeps the conflict going. On the other hand, if you calmly acknowledge their comment without reacting emotionally, you take away their power to disturb your peace. By doing so, you not only maintain control over the situation, but you also maintain control over yourself, something that is far more important than winning the argument. The beauty of diplomacy lies in its ability to shift the dynamic of a conversation. When you remain calm, you disarm your opponent's aggression. You put yourself in a position where you can choose the next step wisely, whether it's agreeing, finding common ground, or simply moving on without escalating the situation. It's not about suppressing your feelings or avoiding confrontation. It's about choosing the best approach to get your point across without unnecessary drama. By choosing calmness and clarity over aggression, you empower yourself and maintain control of the narrative. The Stoics didn't shy away from difficult conversations, but they knew that speaking calmly and clearly was the most effective way to overcome an enemy without resorting to conflict. 4. Find common ground and turn your opponent into an ally. In every conflict, there lies an opportunity to turn an adversary into an ally. This concept may sound counterintuitive at first, but the Stoics understood the deep power of finding common ground with those we may disagree with. Rather than seeing others as opponents to be defeated, Stoic wisdom teaches us to view them as individuals with whom we share common humanity. Through understanding and cooperation, we can transform even the most challenging situations into opportunities for collaboration and growth. Think of a time when you disagreed with someone, perhaps a colleague or a friend. In the heat of the moment, it can be easy to focus solely on the differences between you, turning the situation into an us versus them dynamic. But what if, instead of amplifying those differences, you took a step back and focused on what you shared in common? What do you both want at the end of the day? What values do you both hold dear? When you take the time to truly understand the other person's perspective, you open the door to empathy and connection, and that's where the power of turning an opponent into an ally lies. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often wrote about the importance of understanding others, especially in times of conflict. He said, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following: what are the things that they have in common with me? What are the things that I have done or am still doing that are similar?" In this simple yet profound question, Marcus teaches us that before we judge, we must first recognize our shared experiences and common values. By doing this, we can transform adversarial situations into opportunities for mutual understanding and collaboration. Imagine you're working on a project at work and you're at odds with a colleague about the direction the project should take. Instead of digging in your heels and fighting for your perspective, consider what the common goal is: the success of the project. By shifting your focus from winning the argument to finding a solution that benefits both parties, you open the door to collaboration. You may discover that your colleague's ideas, though different from yours, offer valuable insights that can make the project even stronger. The Stoic principle of sympatheia, the idea that we are all part of a greater whole, teaches us that conflict doesn't need to be divisive. Instead, it can be an opportunity to come together and work toward a common goal. When we approach disagreements with the mindset of cooperation rather than confrontation, we not only find more effective solutions, but we also build stronger, more meaningful relationships. In relationships, this approach can be just as powerful. Instead of seeing your partner's or friend's differing opinion as a threat, try to understand where they are coming from. What shared values or concerns can you both rally around? By focusing on what unites you, you can find common ground and resolve conflicts more gracefully, turning what was once an adversarial situation into a partnership. Ultimately, the Stoic wisdom here is clear. In every conflict, there's an opportunity to turn an enemy into an ally, not by defeating them, but by understanding them. By finding common ground, we can overcome conflict not through force, but through collaboration and mutual respect. In doing so, we transform challenges into stepping stones for growth and build stronger, more harmonious connections with those around us. 5. Appeal to their core values to influence them deeply. In any conflict, one of the most powerful tools at your disposal is the ability to understand and appeal to the core values of the other person. This approach, grounded in Stoic wisdom, is not about manipulating or controlling others. It's about recognizing what truly matters to them and speaking to that deeper sense of purpose. When you align your arguments or actions with the values that are central to your opponent's worldview, you don't just change the course of the conversation, you shift the dynamic entirely. Think about a time when you've had a disagreement with someone, whether it was a colleague, a family member, or a friend. The typical response might be to present facts or argue your position until they're forced to see things your way. But have you ever stopped to think about what motivates them at a deeper level? What do they care about most? What values drive their decisions? The Stoics taught that by appealing to the things that matter most to someone, you not only gain their attention, but also create the possibility for meaningful influence. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the importance of understanding the inner workings of the people around him. He believed that true wisdom was in knowing the motives and desires of others and aligning your actions with those truths. By appealing to their core values, we can communicate in a way that resonates with their own sense of purpose, which makes them more likely to listen and respond in kind. For example, let's say you're having a disagreement with a colleague who values efficiency above all else. Instead of focusing on your need for creativity or individuality, you could frame your argument around the idea that your approach will actually improve efficiency in the long run. By showing that you understand what matters most to them, efficiency, you are more likely to persuade them because you're speaking their language. It's not about changing their values, but about presenting your ideas in a way that aligns with what they hold dear. This approach can also be applied in personal relationships. Imagine you're in a disagreement with a loved one and the tension is rising. If you know that their core value is trust, You might appeal to this value by reassuring them of your commitment to being honest and transparent. By connecting your actions and words to what they deeply care about, you create a bridge of understanding that helps to de-escalate the conflict and bring both sides closer together. Appealing to someone's core values is a deeply Stoic approach because it doesn't rely on force, manipulation, or control. Instead, it's based on respect for the other person's humanity and a recognition that, despite differences, we all share fundamental desires and principles. By tapping into those values, you invite cooperation rather than opposition, building a foundation for mutual understanding and respect. Ultimately, the Stoic lesson here is that true influence comes from a place of empathy and wisdom. By understanding what matters most to others and framing your perspective in a way that aligns with those values, you can turn a confrontation into a conversation and a conflict into an opportunity for deeper connection. This is the power of appealing to core values, not to manipulate, but to connect, to collaborate, and to influence, in a way that is rooted in mutual respect and understanding. 6. Use humor, carefully to diffuse tension without causing offense. Humor, when used thoughtfully, can be one of the most effective tools for diffusing tension in a difficult situation. The Stoics understood that life is filled with challenges and adversity, and they didn't shy away from the fact that these difficulties can sometimes cause stress and frustration. But they also understood the power of perspective. Seeing the humor in a situation can help lighten the mood, break down barriers, and even foster a sense of connection between people. Think about a time when you were in a heated conversation or disagreement. The air was thick with tension, and every word seemed to make things worse. Then, someone cracked a joke or made a light-hearted comment, and just like that, the tension started to lift. That's the magic of humor. It has the ability to reset the emotional tone of a conversation and shift people's perspectives. However, the key to using humor effectively lies in how it is delivered. The Stoics believed that virtue, including wisdom and moderation, should govern every aspect of life, even humor. This means that humor should not be used as a weapon to mock, belittle, or manipulate others. Instead, it should be used to bring people together, to soften difficult conversations, and to remind everyone involved that life doesn't always have to be taken so seriously. In his meditations, Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the absurdity of life and the importance of maintaining a sense of humor in the face of adversity. He wrote about the fleeting nature of human existence and the importance of laughing at ourselves rather than taking offense at every little thing. The ability to laugh at life's challenges instead of becoming consumed by them is a Stoic virtue that helps to maintain emotional balance and inner peace. Take a moment to imagine being in a tense situation, perhaps a disagreement with a friend or a disagreement at work. Now, instead of escalating the situation with anger or frustration, imagine diffusing it with a well-timed, light-hearted comment that makes everyone laugh. Not a sarcastic or passive-aggressive joke, but something genuine that highlights the absurdity of the conflict and helps everyone realize that the issue at hand is often much smaller than it feels in the moment. Humor doesn't just lighten the mood, it also humanizes the situation. It reminds us that, even in conflict, we are all in this together. It's a way of connecting with others in a shared, vulnerable moment that breaks down walls and allows for empathy and understanding. But, as with all things Stoic, moderation is key. Humor should not be used as a distraction from the issue or as a way to avoid addressing something important. It should be used thoughtfully, to ease tension and bring people closer, rather than to dismiss or diminish the concerns of others. The Stoics recognized that humor is a powerful tool, but like all tools, it must be used with intention and respect. When wielded wisely, it can transform even the most challenging conflicts into moments of connection and understanding. By using humor with care, you create an environment where tension fades and the focus shifts away from the conflict and toward a more peaceful, collaborative solution. It's about finding balance, using humor to soften the edges of a difficult situation without undermining its seriousness or importance. 7. Leverage empathy as a tool for influence, not just for peacemaking. Empathy is often seen as the cornerstone of peacemaking. We're told that to resolve conflicts, we must understand and share the feelings of others. But the Stoics went beyond seeing empathy as a mere tool for avoiding conflict. They recognized it as one of the most powerful ways to influence others, build trust, and navigate any disagreement with grace. When you approach a situation with empathy, you don't just diffuse tension, you connect on a deeper level, making it easier to guide the situation in the direction you want. Think about a time when you were in the middle of a tense conversation. You might have been frustrated or upset, but then someone took a moment to truly listen to your side and understand how you were feeling. Immediately you felt heard, and that simple act of empathy likely made you more open to their perspective. That's the power of empathy, not just as a tool for creating peace, but as a means of building bridges in relationships and influencing outcomes. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus often emphasized the importance of recognizing the humanity in others. He believed that by understanding the struggles, fears, and desires of others, we could more effectively navigate any conflict. Rather than seeing others as obstacles or enemies, the Stoics taught us to see them as fellow travelers on the path of life, each with their own set of challenges and desires. By acknowledging this, we gain the ability to influence them more effectively, not through force, but through understanding. Take, for example, a situation at work where you're dealing with a colleague who's become hostile or defensive. Instead of immediately defending your position or getting frustrated, take a moment to put yourself in their shoes. What might they be feeling? Are they under stress? Are they dealing with personal issues? By understanding their emotional state, you can adjust your approach and frame your argument in a way that speaks to their concerns. This doesn't mean compromising your values, but it does mean communicating in a way that resonates with them. Empathy also allows you to see beyond the surface level of a conflict. It helps you uncover the underlying needs or desires that might be driving the other person's behavior. When you understand what they truly want, whether it's validation, respect, or security, you can shape the conversation in a way that addresses those needs while still advancing your own goals. This doesn't turn conflict into an easy fix, but it does turn it into a productive, constructive exchange where both sides are more likely to leave feeling heard and respected. The Stoics weren't naive. They understood that life often puts us in situations where we may need to influence others to achieve our goals. But they also understood that this influence should come from a place of understanding and respect, not manipulation or aggression. When we use empathy as a tool for influence, we create a dynamic where cooperation is more likely than confrontation. This approach fosters a sense of shared humanity that leads to mutual respect, even in the midst of disagreement. By practicing empathy, you not only become a more effective communicator, but you also become a more powerful influence in your relationships and in your professional life. Rather than trying to control others or force your ideas upon them, You can lead them through understanding, collaboration, and mutual respect. It's about transforming conflict into an opportunity for connection, where both sides feel valued, heard, and understood. 8. Master the art of compromise without sacrificing your position. One of the most challenging aspects of any conflict is finding a way to meet halfway without giving up what matters most to you. The Stoics, however, understood that wisdom often lies in the delicate art of compromise. But compromise, according to Stoic philosophy, isn't about losing ground. It's about choosing what's worth holding on to and what's worth letting go. The key is to preserve your integrity and principles while still being open to the needs and perspectives of others. Think about a time when you were in a disagreement, perhaps with a friend, family member, or colleague. In the heat of the moment, it can be easy to feel like you have to either win or lose. There's no middle ground. But the Stoic view of compromise is different. It's not about seeing things as a zero-sum game where one side wins and the other loses. Instead, it's about recognizing that sometimes mutual understanding and collaboration can lead to a solution that honors both parties' needs, without either side losing their core values. The Stoic philosopher Seneca reflected on the idea of compromise in his letters, explaining that true strength isn't about being rigid and unyielding, but about being flexible in your approach to life. He wrote, "A wise man is one who, when he finds a situation where he is forced to choose, considers what is essential and what is not." This idea is at the heart of Stoic thinking. Instead of stubbornly holding on to everything we want, we need to reflect on what's truly necessary and what we can let go of in order to reach a resolution that works for everyone involved. Let's consider a situation where you're negotiating a project deadline with a colleague. Perhaps you want more time to perfect your work, while your colleague needs the project completed quickly. Instead of fighting for more time at the expense of their needs, think about how you can find a middle ground. Maybe you can agree to a deadline that gives you just enough time to do your best work, while also accommodating their urgency. The key is to balance your priorities, and by doing so, you ensure that you're still meeting your needs without compromising on your principles. This doesn't mean you should give in to every demand or sacrifice your beliefs to keep the peace. It means that you understand that conflict resolution is often about prioritizing what's essential. In Stoic thinking, it's important to ask yourself, what can I let go of without losing my integrity? The Stoics recognized that the ability to adapt without compromising what is truly valuable to us is a form of strength. The beauty of compromise, from a Stoic perspective, is that it doesn't require defeat. It's not about giving up what you stand for. It's about finding a way to honor both sides, navigating the situation with wisdom, and emerging with your dignity intact. In doing so, you can transform a potential confrontation into a cooperative exchange, where both parties feel respected and valued. Ultimately, mastering the art of compromise means being willing to bend without breaking. It's about recognizing that in life, some things are worth yielding on, while others are not. The Stoics teach us that the ability to compromise without sacrificing our essential principles is a hallmark of true wisdom. 9. Make forgiveness a tool of strength, not a sign of weakness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. In our society, we may associate forgiveness with weakness, as if letting go of past wrongs somehow diminishes our strength or sense of justice. But the Stoics saw forgiveness as a tool of power, a way to reclaim your inner peace and release yourself from the emotional burden that conflict brings. When you forgive, You are not condoning the actions of others. You are choosing to free yourself from the chains of resentment and anger. Imagine holding on to a grudge for years, feeling bitter, angry, or hurt by something someone did to you in the past. In doing so, you carry this emotional weight with you, allowing the actions of others to continue influencing your life in ways they shouldn't. It can affect your relationships, your peace of mind, and your overall well-being. The Stoics understood that we can't control the actions of others, but we have full control over how we respond to them. Forgiving, in this sense, is a way of choosing how you will carry yourself in the face of adversity. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote about the importance of accepting human imperfection. He said, "How much time you have wasted in thinking, if only this had been done or that happened. Let go of these illusions." For Marcus, forgiveness was not just a personal act, but a practical one. When we cling to anger or resentment, we are the ones who suffer the most. It weighs us down, occupies our thoughts, and takes up space in our hearts that could be used for something far more constructive. Letting go of these negative emotions through forgiveness doesn't make us weak, it makes us stronger, for we free ourselves from the past and take back control of our emotional state. Forgiveness doesn't mean that we forget what happened or that we allow harmful behavior to continue unchecked. It's a decision to release the emotional hold that a situation has over us. When you forgive, you are choosing not to let another person's actions define your peace. Instead, you take charge of your emotional landscape, allowing yourself to move forward with a clean slate. Take a situation where someone wronged you, perhaps a friend who betrayed your trust, or a colleague who took credit for your work. Instead of letting these actions fester and take over your thoughts, the Stoic approach is to reflect on the bigger picture. Understand that people are often driven by their own struggles and insecurities. By forgiving them, you're not excusing their behavior, but you're choosing to release yourself from the ongoing resentment that only hurts you. When we hold on to grudges, we are, in essence, giving someone else control over our lives. Forgiveness is about taking that control back, choosing to live with peace rather than allowing negativity to seep into our daily lives. It doesn't mean that you need to reconcile with the person or continue a relationship with them. It simply means that you're no longer allowing their actions to have power over you. The Stoics understood that life is too short to be wasted on negative emotions. They believed in living a life focused on virtue, wisdom, and inner tranquility. Forgiveness is a powerful practice that allows us to embody these virtues. It helps us shed the weight of anger, resentment, and regret, emotions that only serve to distract us from what is truly important. In the end, forgiveness isn't about the other person. It's about you. It's about your ability to rise above the negativity and choose peace. It's about reclaiming your emotional well-being and moving forward without being shackled by the past. When you forgive, you are not being weak. You are being strong enough to let go of what no longer serves you and make room for the positive energy that will help you grow. 10. Transform conflict into an opportunity for personal growth. Conflicts are an inevitable part of life. We all face them, whether in relationships, at work, or within ourselves. But what if, instead of viewing conflict as a negative force that drains us, we saw it as an opportunity for growth? The Stoics were masters of this mindset. They believed that adversity, when faced with the right perspective, could be a powerful catalyst for personal transformation. Imagine you're in the middle of a difficult situation. Perhaps you've had a falling out with a friend or colleague, or you're struggling with a challenging decision. In the moment, it's easy to feel frustrated, hurt, or overwhelmed. But instead of letting the conflict control your emotions, the Stoic approach teaches us to see this as a moment of learning. Every challenge holds a lesson, and every conflict has the potential to reveal something valuable about ourselves. Seneca, in his writings, reminds us that difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. This powerful idea encapsulates the Stoic view of conflict. It's not something to avoid, but something to embrace as an opportunity to become better. When we're faced with a challenge, we're forced to confront our weaknesses, test our resilience, and reflect on what we truly value. The ability to transform conflict into personal growth comes from the recognition that the true battle is not against the other person, but against ourselves. For example, when you face criticism, it's easy to react defensively, to reject what's being said, and feel hurt. But what if you use that moment to pause and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What is this criticism telling me about how I can improve? By reframing the conflict as a learning experience, you begin to take control of the situation, shifting your focus from external events to your own growth. Instead of feeling victimized, you empower yourself to use the feedback as a tool for self-improvement. This mindset shift doesn't just apply to criticism, it can be applied to any conflict. Maybe you're going through a tough time in a relationship. Rather than seeing it as a failure, ask yourself what it's teaching you about communication, boundaries, or compassion. Every disagreement, every challenge, is an opportunity to learn more about who you are, what you value, and how you can become a better person. By viewing conflict as an opportunity for growth, you take away its power to hurt you. You begin to see challenges as stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. It's like a muscle that gets stronger the more you use it. The more you learn to navigate conflict with the mindset of growth, the more resilient you become, not just in dealing with others, but in dealing with the inner battles we all face. The Stoics didn't shy away from adversity because they knew it was through adversity that we build strength. They believed that our ability to face challenges with grace and wisdom determines the quality of our lives. So, the next time you find yourself in a difficult situation, instead of thinking of it as a problem, ask yourself, what can this teach me? How can this experience help me grow? By doing so, you turn every conflict into an opportunity for personal development and inner peace. 11. Set boundaries that protect you without creating enemies. One of the most important lessons the Stoics taught was the importance of personal boundaries. In a world that often demands more from us than we can give, learning to set clear and healthy boundaries is an essential practice for maintaining your peace and well-being. But setting boundaries doesn't have to mean cutting people off or creating enemies. It's about knowing where you stand and communicating that in a way that preserves your integrity without causing unnecessary conflict. Consider a situation where you feel overwhelmed by someone's demands. Maybe it's a colleague who always expects you to stay late, or a friend who continuously seeks your help without considering your time or energy. In these moments, it's easy to feel torn between wanting to be helpful and recognizing that you need to protect your own time and energy. The Stoic approach is not to allow guilt or fear of confrontation to dictate your actions, but instead to calmly and assertively communicate your limits. As Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This is the essence of setting boundaries. It's not about what the other person wants, but about how you handle their requests in a way that respects both their needs and your own. By setting clear boundaries, you're not being selfish or unkind. You're simply taking responsibility for your own well-being and ensuring that you don't become overwhelmed or resentful. Setting boundaries can be difficult, especially if you fear upsetting others or being perceived as rude. But it's important to remember that true respect comes from honesty. If you're always saying yes to things that drain you, you're not respecting yourself, and ultimately, you won't be able to give your best to anyone. Healthy boundaries allow you to conserve your energy for what truly matters, and to engage with others in a way that is respectful, kind, and sustainable. This doesn't mean being rigid or inflexible. The Stoics valued flexibility and adaptability, but they also understood that certain things, such as your time, your peace of mind, and your energy, are yours to protect. For example, if a colleague continuously asks for your help at the expense of your own responsibilities, it's important to communicate your limits. A simple, calm response like, "I'd love to help, but I'm tied up with other commitments right now," sets a boundary without creating hostility or conflict. In relationships, boundaries are just as important. Maybe you have a friend who tends to overwhelm you with their problems or seeks your emotional support without reciprocating. Setting a boundary in this situation doesn't mean rejecting the person. It means being clear about what you can offer and when. "I'm here for you, but I need some time to recharge after our conversation," is a healthy boundary that protects your emotional well-being without severing the connection. Ultimately, the Stoic philosophy teaches us that boundaries are a form of self-care, not selfishness. They are a way to protect our time, energy, and peace of mind, so that we can engage with the world in a way that aligns with our values and priorities. By setting clear and respectful boundaries, we not only protect ourselves from burnout, but we also create healthier, more sustainable relationships with those around us. 12. Control your reactions and turn them into a strategic weapon. In any conflict, the one thing you can always control is your reaction. The Stoics believed that external events are beyond our power, but our response to them is fully within our control. This powerful principle can be your greatest ally, transforming what might seem like a stressful, difficult situation into a chance to showcase your strength, composure, and strategic thinking. By mastering your reactions, you not only protect your peace of mind, but also turn every challenge into an opportunity to grow stronger and more resilient. Think about a time when something or someone provoked you. Perhaps a colleague undermined your work, or a friend said something hurtful. It's easy to react impulsively, to let our emotions take the wheel. The instinct is often to defend ourselves, lash out, or retaliate. But the Stoic approach is to pause, to take a breath, and to reflect before responding. As Epictetus wisely said, we are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens. The key here is realizing that our emotional reactions are not automatic. They're shaped by our perceptions and beliefs. When we choose to respond with calm and thoughtfulness, we disarm the conflict and maintain our dignity. Our reaction becomes a tool, a weapon we wield strategically, allowing us to navigate even the most challenging situations with wisdom and grace. Instead of reacting out of anger or fear, we react out of clarity, strength, and control. For example, imagine a heated argument with a colleague. They make a critical comment, and you feel the urge to respond defensively. Instead of immediately firing back, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what's the most constructive way to handle this? Perhaps you realize that getting defensive won't serve you in the long run. Instead, you can choose to respond calmly, focusing on the issue at hand and leaving emotions aside. In doing so, you show that you are in control of yourself and the situation, which often diffuses the tension and earns you respect. This ability to control our reactions also extends to how we handle criticism. If someone critiques your work, you might feel hurt or frustrated. But the Stoic perspective encourages us to view this not as an attack, but as an opportunity to learn. By controlling your reaction, you can listen to the feedback with an open mind, extract the valuable lessons from it, and use it to improve your future efforts. In this way, your reaction becomes a strategic tool for growth, rather than a reflexive response that escalates the conflict. The beauty of controlling your reactions is that it puts you in a position of power, not over others, but over yourself. You become less susceptible to being swept up in external circumstances and more capable of responding in a way that aligns with your values and goals. Instead of reacting impulsively to every slight or inconvenience, you gain the ability to respond intentionally, turning every challenge into a chance to refine your character and move closer to your ideal self. In a world that often encourages quick reactions and emotional responses, the Stoic practice of controlling your reactions is a radical act of self-mastery. It's not about suppressing emotions, it's about choosing how to express them. By mastering your reactions, you turn every external conflict into an internal opportunity to practice patience, clarity, and wisdom. In doing so, you strengthen your ability to handle whatever life throws your way with calmness, resilience, and strategic insight. As we wrap up today's episode, it's clear that the Stoic approach to overcoming conflict is all about mastering the internal rather than fighting the external. The wisdom shared by the Stoics reminds us that true strength lies in how we respond to life's challenges. By understanding our opponents, choosing our battles wisely, speaking calmly, finding common ground, and using empathy, we unlock the power to navigate conflict with grace, intelligence, and purpose. But most importantly, we learn that the key to winning any battle doesn't always lie in defeating the other person. Instead, it lies in our ability to maintain control over our emotions, to forgive, to compromise, and to see conflict as a chance for personal growth. Every disagreement, every struggle holds the potential for a lesson, an opportunity to become a wiser, more resilient version of ourselves. So, next time you face a challenge or encounter an enemy, remember, the Stoics didn't shy away from conflict, but they transformed it. They used it as a tool to refine their character, sharpen their wisdom, and strengthen their resolve. You have the power to do the same. If you found these Stoic principles helpful, take a moment to reflect on how you can apply them in your life. Which battle can you let go of? Where can you practice more empathy? What conflict can you transform into an opportunity for growth today? Remember, every conflict is a chance to rise, to learn, and to evolve into the person you were meant to be. Thank you for joining me on this journey of Stoic wisdom, and I hope you're leaving with a new perspective on how to face life's challenges without ever needing to raise your voice. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need a little Stoic guidance in their life. Until next time, stay calm, stay wise, and remember, you're always stronger than you think.